Welcome to the Restoring Balance podcast, where I discuss gut and hormone health beyond conventional advice and strict dietary regimens. Instead, I focus on bio-individuality and proven methods that actually get you the results that you're looking for. Get ready for sustainable and practical topics that will help you optimize your digestion and hormones so you can reclaim your health, feel confident about your decisions, and create the life you've always dreamed of. I'm your host, Megan Garza. Get ready to explore how to restore balance in your mind, body, and soul. The Restoring Balance podcast is not intended to be used for medical advice, prescription, diagnosis, or treatment. No information in this podcast should be treated as medical advice. Please consult your medical doctor before implementing any nutritional, supplemental, or lifestyle changes. Hello everyone, welcome back to the podcast. This is episode 33 and the title of today's episode is Stop Symptom Chasing, Perfect Health Doesn't Exist. Before we get into today's episode, if you're a fan of the show, don't forget to give it a 5-star rating on Spotify or Apple Podcast, which helps my show get to other listeners who would benefit from it just like you. Without further ado, let's dive in. The topics that I'm going to be discussing in this episode include how chronic illness recovery takes time, feeling like you're not doing enough to heal and the detriments of that, why you should stop chasing perfect health, and how symptom chasing will leave you sicker than ever. So in this episode, the types of chronic illnesses that I'm specifically referring to are hormone imbalances and gastrointestinal issues, not only because I've had personal experience with this, but that's also because it's what I specialize in helping my clients with. Now, I'm not saying that this conversation of symptom chasing and how perfect health does not exist doesn't apply to other chronic illnesses, because it absolutely does. But for reference, what I'm talking about specifically is gastrointestinal and hormone imbalance problems. First off, I want to start by saying that chronic illness recovery and other health problems do take time to heal. And this time frame really depends on how long that you've been sick for, what your genetics are, the type of illnesses that you have, how many illnesses you're dealing with, your health history, your current environment, how stressed you are, if you're giving your body the right nutrients that it needs, and so many other factors. So really, it's not an overnight journey and it requires so much patience. So I don't want to get into this episode with a really unrealistic viewpoint of you're going to do these things, X, Y, Z, and then you're going to be healed, because everyone's journey is going to be different. And some people, it takes a much longer time for health to start to go back to normal. And even when you do start implementing diet and lifestyle changes and different strategies and protocols and seeing what does and doesn't work, these take time to implement and you have to be patient. If you're not patient, you are going to burn through so many resources, you're going to get frustrated, and ultimately you're not going to be seeing the results of healing that you're really searching for. Another pitfall that I see with chronic illness recovery that I see so often is comparing your illness journey to someone else's. And maybe this is on social media, or maybe you've talked to people in person. And regardless of in-person or social media, this is not going to help, because there are a variety of factors that can cause your journey to be very different than someone else's. So if you're seeing someone on social media who healed their body with a specific supplement or food, there's a lot more to the story than they're letting on, because no single food or supplement or exercise is going to get you the results, because there's a lot more at play here. There's so much behind the scenes work that they are probably not showing you or talking about. And if you've seen someone's journey and they've healed their body tremendously, then that is fantastic. And they've probably worked on their chronic illness for years, or they're just not being 100% truthful about their recovery and how they're really feeling, because it's very easy to create a mask and pretend like you're feeling really great, especially if there are financial incentives behind it. You see this a lot with influencers who are selling supplements and protein shakes and all these fancy things and devices that they're just trying to make money from. And, while these things can help some people, if they're saying that this is what cured my chronic illness, they're probably BSing. And if the person is not talking about the ups and downs in their journey and how hard it really was, they're also not being honest about that because the path to recovery is not linear. You don't just start your healing journey and all of your symptoms disappear or improve one by one, like checking boxes on a to-do list, because that's not realistic of what true health is and how healing actually happens, because there's typically a process of 2 steps forward and 1 step back, or even multiple steps back, which really sucks. But that is part of the process. That's part of the journey. Or maybe even new symptoms that are showing up or healing reactions that are happening and it's creating new problems. So there's a lot of unforeseen roadblocks and circumstances that are going to pop up. And if someone is not talking about this, then they're definitely not giving you the full picture. And I'm just trying to put a big emphasis on the fact that recovery is not a linear journey, because this is something that I needed to hear for so long. And it took me forever to realize this. And even when I did hear it, I really didn't want to accept it because I just wanted this journey to be smooth sailing. I truly thought that my journey was just going to be complete and my health was going to be so much better within a year or two. And I did not realize that it would take me over 7 years to get a hold of my chronic illnesses. And I know this might not be something that you want to hear, especially if you are at the beginning of your journey. But let me tell you, it takes time. But once the symptoms start to be more manageable, the journey becomes so much more pleasant and you come out on the other side with so much more knowledge and appreciation for life. And this is something that I really gained new insight for how beautiful life is because I was at the depths of despair with my health. And there were times where I felt so hopeless and depressed and even suicidal because of my illness, which truly sucked. But like I said, I'm kind of grateful for it because it taught me so much. And now I have a better understanding of how to help other women who are having these issues. And I have a deeper level of empathy because I can say I've been there and I've done that. And I completely understand what is going on and just how horrible it can be to be experiencing these things and not to have answers and to really just feel hopeless. But also just remembering that there is hope on the other side. And there were times where I didn't think that I would ever make it out of that place. But I always kept hope and I always kept that belief that maybe I would be one of those miracle stories that I've heard and read so much about, and I am. And I'm not saying this to brag or anything like that, but I just want to instill some hope in you to keep the faith and to keep going on the path to better health, because there is a light at the end of the tunnel. So to talk a little bit more about how addressing chronic health issues or just chronic conditions is not an easy or fast solution. There's no pill or quick fix or fast track way to get you to better health. I mean, there are things that you can do to make your life a lot more manageable and to really effectively tackle the symptoms that you're dealing with. But I do just want to put a strong emphasis on the fact that there's no pill or supplement that is going to cure you overnight. It really does take a lot of hard work and dedication and so much patience for these issues to be managed better. And unfortunately, there's really a lot of misinformation out there, which makes it really easy to go down the wrong path, which is why working with a practitioner can be extremely helpful, because this can reduce the amount of time that it takes for you to find proper solutions and also just reduce the frustration around this and reduce the amount of time that you go down the wrong path. And this is something that I work with clients on. So if you are looking for a practitioner, you can schedule a free nutrition consultation with me where we'll discuss your health history, your current struggles, your goals, and to see how nutritional therapy can help you. I'll put the link in the show notes for you to be able to sign up for that free consultation. Now back to the quick fixes on things like fad diets and other false promises that are out there. So again, things like a smoothie or a supplement or a certain food or even cutting out a certain food is not going to be the solution to your healing journey. What is really going to help you heal is focusing on slow healing and the foundations and simple strategies that are going to facilitate true health. This includes things like nervous system work, and this is something I cannot stress enough. If your nervous system is going haywire and it's out of whack, nothing that you do is really going to fix what you're dealing with. So this nervous system work can include things like EFT or tapping. You really need to address your trauma. If you have any underlying trauma from a divorce, childhood trauma, grief, loss, anything like that, you have to address that trauma because it's going to reside in your nervous system. Slowing down and breathing is something that is incredibly important. Before meals, especially making sure that you are taking deep breaths, deep diaphragmatic breaths, and also throughout the day. Because if you are not allowing your body to feel safe throughout the day and you are just chest breathing and not taking deep breaths, your body is not going to realize that it does not need to be in a state of arousal constantly. So really slow down and take deep breaths. My next point kind of goes back to addressing trauma, but you really need to let go of anger and resentment. And I know that this one can be so hard because there are people that have wronged you and maybe you are not at fault at all. And I completely understand that, and I'm not discrediting anything. But if you hold on to that shit, it is going to destroy you from the inside out. So even if this person hurt you and it's the most deep wound that you can ever think of, holding on to that anger and resentment is going to keep you sick. So working with a therapist can be extremely helpful for letting go of this anger and resentment and bitterness or any other emotion that you really feel is creating stagnation in your body is going to make such a difference. Also working on all the other aspects of the foundations of health, so things like supporting the function of your digestion, managing your blood sugar, staying hydrated, finding joy in life, which I'm going to talk about extensively in just a minute. Also things like doing castor oil packs, getting high quality sleep, and other aspects that are going to provide real results. So I don't know if you noticed, but I did not mention to take this supplement or to try this crazy device or ice plunging or anything like that, because it's really ultimately about just slowing down and allowing the body to heal the way that it needs to. We cannot force the body into healing because the more we force, the more we push, the more the body is going to resist. And maybe hearing all those things that I just mentioned put your mind and body in a state of panic because maybe you feel like you're not doing all of those things and you can start thinking like, what's the next step? This feels too overwhelming. Am I doing everything that I can? What else can I add to my routine? And these thoughts can create a feeling of I'm not doing enough. And this mindset of I'm not doing enough can lead you down a path of constantly doing and always trying to find the next thing that's going to help fix you. But if you're just focusing on doing all the things that you think that you should be doing and your symptoms are getting a lot worse, maybe it's time to just slow down. Instead of thinking about how you haven't cleaned out your pantry the exact way that you want to, or you're not getting up with the sun, or you're not managing your stress the way that you should be, or maybe you just need this one supplement, these things are not going to help. And none of this stuff is true. None of these actions that we are taking are going to be the solution because it is really the little things that we do, these little habits that add up over time to turn into big changes. And I'm not saying that we shouldn't be eating healthy because yes, it is crucial to eat healthy and to rise with the sun and to manage our stress better and to take the correct supplements for what you're dealing with and all kinds of other aspects of health. But the overall message that I'm trying to get at here is if you are constantly worrying, this is sending signals to your body that it is not safe. And this is going to create more lack and scarcity and fear within your nervous system. And this feeling of fear and stress and worry about all of these little things is going to do far more harm than anything else. So instead of thinking about what you should be doing, maybe you can start focusing on what you are currently doing that has been making you feel good and making your body feel better. But then again, maybe nothing is working, and that can be even more frustrating. And I get it. I've been there. I completely understand. However, it's so important to just slow down and to look at what your symptoms are trying to tell you because your body is communicating with you. These symptoms are not just happening out of the blue. They're not just something that your body is punishing you for. It's your body's way of telling you, hey, pay attention to me. There's something wrong. And I'm not saying to lie to yourself and to do these bogus affirmations that you hear so many people talk about of, my body is healed, I'm feeling healthy, because this is going to create internal conflict because your body does not like to be lied to. And if you are lying to yourself and saying that you're healed when you are not, your mind and body know better. And when you are lying, it's going to cause problems. So instead, you can work on shifting this mindset to say things like, thank you, symptoms, for showing me that my body is telling me that something's wrong. I am open to the possibility of miracles happening and being able to get to the other side of this illness and to look back and realize how much that I've grown. I did not mention anything in there about how the body's healthy and healed, rather just shifting that mindset to be open to miracles and the possibility of healing. And just also being brutally honest. If your symptoms are so bad, feel into that and just allow yourself to be brutally honest about the fear that you are feeling about your health, because it is scary. But don't let your mind get lost in that fear at the same time, because there has to be a healthy balance here of, I feel fear. I hope that I can make it out on the other side of this illness one day. And by shifting your mindset to one that's open and to not holding on so tightly can really help you create safety within your nervous system, which in turn is going to help you manage your symptoms much better. So ultimately, letting go of micromanaging your health and trusting that your body can heal itself can really bring beautiful results. And another really important thing that I want to mention is that a big part of healing or even staying sick is because of the stories that we have about our health and how tightly we try to control it. So the more that you let go and you trust your body, the more it loosens and it does what it needs to do to recover. And this is something that is so beautiful, and I've seen with so many clients of mine and just so many people that I've talked to who have overcome these issues. And part of recovery also includes the stories of how we got sick or how long that we've been sick, because this can really hold us back from healing. Because if we have this story of, oh, I'm just the sick girl, I've always been this way, my body's never going to heal, we're just going to see ourselves as chronically ill and that nothing is going to help, which is very sad because it's perpetuating the illness to keep rearing its ugly head and to not improve. And again, I'm not saying that I want you to lie to yourself about the state of your health, but also do not limit yourself to this mindset, because this is something that is so crucial for healing, is being open to the possibility of better health. And all of this brings me to my next point with perfection of health, because this can be something that is really easy to also fall into the trap of I want to get better, but I don't ever want to have another bad day. And ultimately, health is not about perfection, but it's about progress and also acceptance. Accepting that things are the way that they are in this moment, and you are open to the possibility of change, but you're also not going to be dwelling on these things and hating your body and hating yourself for your body acting the way that it is. So this feeling of perfection and holding on to the idea of perfect health, you really can't expect to never have a bad day or a flare-up or a bad season ever again, because that is just so unrealistic. There are so many factors at play that can cause these things to flare back up, and we are human. We are not robots. We are not going to experience perfect health, which is why we need to get this idea out of our head. And this internal chatter about perfect health can also lead to symptom chasing. So symptom chasing is extremely real and it's really easy to fall into. So here's a typical example of how symptom chasing can look. So maybe you have one symptom under control, but then another one pops up and you keep chasing and playing detective and searching for answers online and buying new devices and supplements and foods, trying to really get to the bottom of it. But you're not even realizing that the more that you try to control these things, the worse that your health is going to get. So that's really what I mean by symptom chasing and by how detrimental it can be. Because real healing can only occur when you let go of trying to control so much and to just enjoy the moments and experiences that you have here on earth. Because our bodies do have the innate ability to heal, but we just have to remember that the tools we need are within us, and we just need to properly support our bodies and minds and spirits with what it needs, so that way the body can go back to a state of homeostasis. And the more that you focus on your symptoms and how terrible you feel, the more you're just going to let life pass you by, because true joy is enjoying the little moments and just trying to find gratitude and happiness with what you're currently experiencing, even when you feel really shitty. And this is something that made me really angry when I first heard about it. But looking back, I realized how much I truly needed to hear this, because I was letting my life pass me by when I was in the depths of my chronic illness, and I was just so angry and bitter about my symptoms that I was just kind of going through the motions of life, not really enjoying anything. Even when I was hanging out with people that I loved or doing hobbies that I really enjoyed, I was just so focused on my symptoms and hyper fixated on them, and it made things so much less enjoyable. And I felt like I was such an unpleasant person to be around for so long because of how frustrated I was with everything. And, looking back, it's sad because I allowed myself to be in that mindset, but I also give myself that compassion and understanding that I didn't know what I didn't know, and I just did my best. And now that I know it, I just want to help other women hear the same message that I desperately needed to hear. And the last and most important part that I want to talk about is to enjoy your life now, because life does not start when your illness ends. Please do not wait for your health to be perfect so that way you can start enjoying life, because you only have one shot at this life. And hyperfixating on your symptoms is only going to make them worse, and those are the only memories that you are really going to be having. So instead, you can try to find joy and to just be grateful for what you have and the experiences that you're living, because that is really what's going to speed up your healing. And maybe you're not exactly where you want to be with your health, and I get that. But even small accomplishments with your health is something to celebrate and to be joyful for, because this joy that we feel is what truly can help move the needle to where you want it to be. So to wrap up this conversation, really just try to live the best life that you can, and to just remember that perfect health does not exist. Stop chasing those symptoms and just live your life, because we can only heal when we stop trying to control everything so tightly and just let loose a little bit and enjoy the present moment. So just remember to take it step by step and to keep learning on your wonderful journey of wellness. Thank you so much for tuning into the Restoring Balance podcast. Today, I talked about how chronic illness recovery takes time, feeling like you're not doing enough to heal and the detriments of that, why you should stop chasing perfect health, and how symptom chasing will leave you sicker than ever. If you enjoyed today's episode and are looking for more holistic health and wellness content about gut and hormone health, be sure to subscribe to my newsletter, where you'll receive announcements about any upcoming events, weekly tips on how to reduce your symptoms and reclaim your health, and also receive notifications when I post a new podcast episode, which is every Wednesday at 12 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. The link to sign up for my newsletter is in the show notes. If you liked this episode, don't forget to leave a rating and review. Again, I just want to thank you for listening to this week's topic. Take care, everyone, and until next time.